Alrighty, so I wanted to try something different and talk about something that's not happening right now, but something that has actually happened in the past. This is the story of the not-so Formula One car. Lotus is a name that almost everyone in the racing community knows. They were hugely successful in the 60s and 70s with revolutionary cars such as the Lotus 79 and the Lotus 49. It was only up until very recently that they actually pulled out of Formula One after being bought out by the Renault Sport F1 team. So back in 2009, Lotus were in financial trouble. Lots of trouble, usually serious. Okay, I'm sorry. So they called on the help of Danny Behar, who had previously worked with Red Bull and Ferrari on projects like the Red Bull and Toro Rosso Formula One teams and Ferrari World, all in the name of marketing. In 2010, Danny Behar was approached by Proton, a car company from Malaysia, and was tasked with expanding Lotus's markets in places like China. So what did he do? Did he go about making sensible cars? Did he go about making big cars that the people from the Chinese market might actually want to buy? Well, he basically built a Formula One car. So, the Lotus T125 was born. The Lotus T125 looked pretty much like a Formula One car at the time. It had all the F1 bits and pieces such as a Cosworth V8, a hand-operated clutch, a fancy steering wheel, slick tires, and actually had even more downforce than Formula One cars of the time. The car was incredibly fast. The IndyCar-derived V8 had 640 horsepower and could rev to 11,000 RPM. The car only weighed 590 kilos empty, giving it an astounding power-to-weight ratio of 1,084 brake horsepower per ton. The car had a top speed of 320 kilometers an hour and could accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 2.6 seconds. The car also came with a crew to maintain the car and take it to any track that you wanted to drive it on, and you could receive lessons learning how to drive the T125 from drivers such as Mika Hakkinen, Jarno Trulli, Takuma Sato, and John Alesi. All of this would cost the lucky owner around $1 million. This was Danny Behar's brilliant plan to save the struggling British car company. And did it work? Nope. In 2010, the T125 was unveiled to many rich people at the Louvre in France with the hope of selling several of them to them. They didn't sell a single one. The T125 project was a colossal failure. The event at the Louvre was never covered anywhere in any car magazines apart from one story on thedrive.com where the journalist who wrote the article tells the story of someone he knows who was actually there. The reason nobody bought one is that the car was too hard to drive for even incredibly experienced racing drivers who had driven in series such as Formula Ford, GTs, and Carrera Cup. The speeds at which people were comfortable at driving the T125 were not fast enough for the downforce on the car to actually work. Ironically, the car that was supposed to be an F1 racer that normal people could drive was actually only able to be driven by Formula One drivers. The car was pretty much undrivable, as seen on Top Gear when Jeremy Clarkson tried his best to wrestle it around the test track. The project was a huge waste of time and money, and Danny Behar was unceremoniously sacked from Lotus. Apart from a few articles, the Top Gear episode, and the Cosworth GP V8s that were developed for the car and later sold, it is hard to believe the car even existed. So if you've ever actually wanted to buy an F1 car, this is why companies don't really do that sort of thing by making them readily available. If you want a racing car you can actually own and drive on the road, try a Buck Mono or Radical. Anyway, I thought this would be a fun little video to do. I hope you have all enjoyed it and had a nice New Year celebration. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.